Alright, welcome to Delayed Reaction, the show where I tell you or talk to you about stuff that you probably already know. Today's topic, the reboot Netflix's She-Ra. I'm going to try to do more than one review because I love She-Ra. So, here's how I'm going to break it down. I'm going to do one review where it's just based on the show itself and take it as its own entity. Then I'm going to do another review. My second review is going to be the new show compared to the old show. There's some good things. There's some bad things. There's some missed things. Who knows? And then I'm going to do another review where it's like, I don't know what the third one is. I used to know what it was. I have to go check. I have to read it. Anyway. So, right now, I'm going to talk about the show by itself. In its own entirety. So, She-Ra and the Princesses of Power. Noelle Stevenson did an alright job of getting the story that she wanted across. It plays very well for itself. Well, sort of well for itself. So, just letting you guys know, they didn't have all of the rights to the same characters that the original show were. So, there's some original characters in this, in the forms of the Hordemen, Lonnie, who's like this big buff girl with cornrows. Kyle, who's this sort of super shrimpy kid. And Lizard Guy, who is a humanoid lizard man. He doesn't really do anything the whole series, huh? So, the show starts out with... Oh, yeah. Spoilers. There's going to be so many spoilers. Spoilers for the whole damn show. So, and I'm going to try to speed this along because I'm not like all the other YouTubers that can put up clips and stuff because I don't know how to do none of that stuff. So, I'm not going to try. Instead, I'm just going to speed through this. I wish I could give you guys like blatant examples. So I'm just going to try to like stay as linear as possible. So anyway, starts off with Adora. It shows you Adora. She's getting ready for some exam or whatever. You know, training exercise with her squad consisting of her, Catra, Lonnie, Kyle, and Lizard Guy. And, you know, goes all right. Shadow Weaver shows up, who is her surrogate mom in this series. She, like, raises her to be the Force captain, but she's sort of eh. And I don't understand. One of the things that I liked is that the anime influence in this series comes through crystal clear. Super crystal clear. You can see the homages to, you know, really girly anime and Sailor Moon. Adora had a poster of basically Queen Angela, who was Queen Angela, on her punching bag, but the way that it was drawn, it made her look like Queen Mataria. Who, you know, was the big bad of Sailor Moon. Aye! Cat. But yeah, I'm not going to be able to give a whole synopsis of the whole thing. That'll stretch this video clear into the 30-minute mark, which could be fun, but probably not if you're just going to watch me stand here and talk. So, here are the things I like about the series. it goes it goes more in depth with the character relationships and has more of a linear story. You know, it's a clear beginning, middle, and end. Well, beginning and I guess it has all three. No, there's the conflict of Etheria where the Horde invaded and they're like destroying Etheria, and the last time there was the last alliance against the Horde ended in terrible losses. Just terrible losses all around. Later, we're introduced to Glimmer in the first episode, whose dad, we learn, got killed in one of the big fights that ultimately ended the previous rebellion. And so Queen Angela eventually makes Glimmer a commander in the army, but like of everyone in Bright Moon, like we only see Glimmer, Angela, Bo, Spinnerella, Natasha, who don't do anything for the whole series until the last episode. Other than, like, that's one of the things that bothers me, is that they were introduced before the series came out. They were like, you know, they put their title cards out there and they showed everyone, and then they make a big deal about how Spinnerella is, you know, more plus size, she's more body positive, but don't do anything with her. They don't do anything with either of them until the very last episode. And they're just sort of thrown in as jokes. Like, Natasha makes fun of her own name because her name is Natasha and she tosses nets. That's actually one of the things about the original that I hated. I know I wasn't going to bring the original up, but it's one of the things that bothered me so much. That Natasha, she tossed nets. Spinnerella, what was her ability? She spins. Flutterina, what's her ability? She has butterfly wings. Like, their names were so on the nose. It was so bothersome. But anyway. And then there was Peekaboo. God, I hate Peekaboo. I hate Peekaboo so much. I can see things in the future. Anyway. Yeah, I like some of the character interactions. And I like the updates to some of their looks. Like Scorpia, I was going to do this. I want to do it next video. Okay, so anyway. They introduce, like, the thing about this version of She-Ra that I like are just some of the character interactions. It's weird that Shadow Weaver spends her time, like, Adora defects from the Horde and switches sides, but, like, right after she's made Force Captain. Apparently, she was going to be Force Captain over the squad that she was leading, which is weird because all of them seem like beginner cadets. And it seems like they're so young that they wouldn't be sent on missions anywhere yet. They're still, like, in training, you know. They don't seem old enough to be in the military, but they're like in military, they're like in in Horde ROTC. But instead, like, as soon as Adora leaves, like, you see Lonnie, Kyle, and Lizard Guy on multiple missions. And I'm like, why are you sending them? Is no one else available? Do you have no one else in the Horde? And then we go later on, we see flashbacks and they've got like big buff Octavia somewhere. And I'm like, where is she? You send her on a mission. You got friggin' buff-ass Scorpia. She goes on missions sometimes, but she's super dopey. You can't trust anything to Scorpia. Scorpia is like, I'm a hugger, and just is so... She's so lackadaisical. One thing about the Horde that I don't understand is how they managed to take over or cause any sort of threat to anyone, because the Horde throughout the whole series really doesn't do much of anything. Like, they don't. I don't understand why everyone's so hopped up. Actually, no one's really hopped up over them. Throughout this season, throughout the first season, it's mostly like, oh, we're going to go around, visit these other kingdoms, and put the Princess Alliance back together. All right. And every time they come to a new kingdom or a different kingdom, the princess and all the people that live there are more involved in whatever it is that they're doing, and they don't even care about the Horde. They're not even thinking about the Horde. Or they're not trying to do anything about the Horde. They're just like, they're here. So, like, Perfuma, she had her powers weakened because her runestone was corrupted and, like, messed up. So the princesses draw powers from these, like, big, giant, ancient, mystical gems called runestones. And they're all connected throughout the planet or whatever. And the princesses maintain the balance of Etheria. And She-Ra is apparently the key to maintaining all of that balance. Like, she is like, the princesses could do it themselves, but if any of them, like, shift out of place or something, She-Ra is supposed to, like, fill in that gap. She's the glue that holds them all together. She is the binding element. She is the eggs and breadcrumbs to their meatloaf. But, you know, it falls apart. And Perfuma's people were more concerned about, you know, doing Zen and yoga and all their surfer junk. They were super hippies, and they really, like, you could clearly see where the Horde was doing stuff. And they were like, no, ignore that. That's nothing. Just make sure you take care of the runestone and clear that out. And thank you. Like, no, take care of the source. What's wrong with you? And they're like, we can't do anything about that. We're so weak. Then you get to Mermista, and Mermista is so defeated. Is she defeated? I think she's defeated. Or is she just... I don't know. So the way they've got Mermista characterized is that she's sort of like the super tsundere, and she's more like... She's like if Raven from Teen Titans had a baby with Jane Lane. Is that the right? Is that? I don't know. Basically, she's annoyed by everything. She's annoyed with existence. She doesn't really want to be part of anything, but at the same time, she always wants to be part of something. Like, she feigns that she hates being around people, but she secretly loves it. But she's not going to tell anybody that she loves it, because that's a drag. Shikamaru! That's who she's like! But it's like, it's forced almost. Like, I don't know how to explain it. But anyway, you get to her country, and she's like, oh, yeah, there's just me here and the one butler guy because everyone else fled. Everyone else ran away because nothing in this city is working anymore. And my dad, her dad, he didn't die, unlike Glimmer's dad. He just was like, well, I quit. Here, you take the reins. And you are the queen now, or you own the kingdom. Fix it. And instead of trying to fix the Seagate, she was just sitting there annoyed that, like, it was broken. Because nobody knows how to fix it. But it's, like, the most important thing about Salinas. And then there's Seahawk. They introduced Seahawk in that same episode. And at first he's talked up and he's introduced very, very, very heavily. He's like just straight up Han Solo, but like a terrible parody of Han Solo. Like, he talks up himself about all of, like, how good he is and how great a captain he is and blah, blah, blah. But he's just a big old goof. Just a big old goof that really doesn't seem to know how to do anything. And he's like, oh, my crew and everything, I used to be respected by everyone, and they even thought it was charming when I used to light my boats on fire. You just lit your boats on fire, and then later that episode, that thing turns out to be his signature attack. His signature attack is lighting his own boat on fire and crashing it into whatever is attacking at the moment. Like, how does that help you be a good captain? And then he gets all sulky because everyone else because Glimmer, Bo, and Adora have skills necessary to sail a boat. And he's like, I don't know why you need me. Honestly, I don't know why they needed him either. Because they apparently already knew how to do all the stuff that he needed. And they're like, we just needed your map. You already had a map! You didn't need him! You needed a boat! And you could have already gotten one of those! You fucking... Princess of Bright Moon! Bright Moon has boats! The whole kingdom! So mad. So mad. This whole series makes me so mad. Whole kingdom. And they're like, oh, we just... Like, that's just the reasoning that they wanted to make to introduce Seahawk. But it was weird. And then you get to, like, the next episode... Oh, that's also the episode where we get introduced to Catra. Not Catra. Bad Touch Scorpia. Scorpia. Oh my god. So, Scorpia, she's lovable. She is super lovable. And they made her lovable. And the thing about her that's weird is that she's really absent-minded. Like, she doesn't have any inkling of evil or anything in her. And later on in the series, she's like, it comes out that she was just like, she was a princess over the land that the Fright Zone is now inhabiting. And, you know, the Horde just landed there and her parents were like, oh, well, here, you can stay here for now. And the Horde just spread, and they're like, oh, you can have our magic rune stone, that's fine. And Scorpia just ended up being a member of the Horde just by happenstance. She was like, well, I'm here, so guess I'm part of the Horde now, hee hee. But she's super, like, lovable. She loves giving hugs. She's cheery all the time. She doesn't really fight that much. She does fight, and she seems to enjoy it, but she also doesn't really have a reason for it. Other than, oh, well, I'm sort of different from the other princesses, so I don't think they like me. Scorpia, you are on a planet where there's a bull princess. A bull princess. And a princess with deer antlers and another one with moth wings. You are fine. So eventually we come across the Crystal Castle. Light Hope is now like a cross between Synergy and Grace Jones. Since Synergy looks like Grace Jones, I don't know what they're going to do about Huntara. Maybe they won't use her. I don't know. But it leaves way more mysteries. Like, one thing about Adora, even though she's Force Captain and she made Force Captain, she is so stupid. She is so dumb. She comes into these powers, and instead of her going, oh, I should probably figure out how to use these powers, she just always, like, happens upon them and doesn't understand how to use them, nor does she try to understand how to use them. Until, like, right immediately that moment when she needs to know how to use something. Then she's like, how come it won't work? Come on, work! And she just, like, swings the sword around with all abandon. And she tries every magic word she can think of, which is just for the honor of Grayskull or Eternia, because she read that once on a door. So it's just painful. It's not painful. Well, the series is all right. You can follow it pretty good, and it has a pretty good pacing. Like, it's sort of slow. Characters do these weird things. Like, there's this thing where it's just played really, really silly through the whole thing, even during, like, action scenes. Or they try to have action scenes, but it doesn't really feel like a good fight or battle. Oh. And then there's that final battle. God, that final battle! I felt the most gypped. The most gypped. So, here's how it goes down. After the whole ordeal with Entrapta, they get Entrapta, they convince her to join up. Yay. Now, Adora's all freaked out because while she was there at Entrapta's, her powers got corrupted and she got all freaked out. So they're like, you need some help. Let's go to Glimmer's aunt in Mysticor, the magical healing city of Mysticor, which is on a floating rock in the middle of frickin' nowhere. So since it's on a floating rock in the middle of nowhere, then they would be safe from the Horde. And yeah, pretty much safe from the Horde. Nobody from the Horde even goes there. But there's still only about 9 people that live there. There's like 5 wizards, not counting Castaspella. That's the thing about these countries. Every kingdom you ever visit has like less than 9 people in it. Perfuma had like 7 people. Mermista had 1, Entrapta had 3, like, oh, and Bright Moon. Bright Moon has about 7 or 9, because they have those moon guards that look really cool but don't really do anything. Even in the final battle, when the whole of the Horde attacked, it was still just Glimmer, Bow, and Adora, and Natasa, and Spinnerella, versus all the tanks and stuff. And even Natasa and Spinnerella didn't join in until, like, the very last minute. Like, where the hell were they? They've been here the whole series. They are always in Castle Bright Moon. They got introduced in the first episode, or second episode, however. And Bo even makes a, like, side joke where he's like, we don't really know what they do. They're just always here. Like, you don't know what they do? Y'all have had this alliance for how long? You've been fighting the Horde. You apparently haven't been fighting the Horde that hard if you don't know what they do already. And they don't talk, they don't do anything until the very last episode. At the very last minute. So, they go to Mysticor. She gets freaked out. Shadow Weaver launches an attack. They beat Shadow Weaver. And then the next episode, Glimmer and the princesses get invited to Frosta's house or Frosta's Kingdom of Snows for the princess prom, which happens once every 100 years. I don't know why it's only once every 100 years. Maybe it's once every 10 years. I think it's 10 years. I don't know. But it's super, super ancient, and there's hells of rules. So they go there. Scorpio's a princess, so she gets an invite. And Shadow Weaver's like, okay, we can't attack Adora directly, so attack her through her heart, i.e., take her friends. Because her friends are who she abandoned us for. So they kidnap Bo and Glimmer, and then Adora's like, we have to rescue them. So she gets the rest of the Princess Brigade together. They launch a rescue attempt in the Fright Zone. And it goes alright, but it's played, like, there's too many jokes in the middle of it, so I don't really feel like there's no tension through the whole episode, except for the scenes with Glimmer, because Glimmer's, like, being strung up by this, like, energy thing that's, like, siphoning off her energy and her magic, and she can't teleport out of it, and every time she tries to teleport, it, like, hurts her, but she keeps trying, and it just hurts more and drains more of her energy, and she's just sweating and beat up, and, that looks like torture. But all the rest of the show, like, it was hard to get into it, because Mermista, okay, I do really, really appreciate Mermista in this episode. Because while Adora's laying out her plan or whatever, she's like, okay, so the best way to get into the prison is to go through this door, but it can only be opened from the inside. So Mermista's going to go through so Mermista, you're going to go through the sewer and come up through the pipe through the other side and then open the door. And Mermista's like, hold on. Mermista does what? I never signed on to go through nobody's sewer. And she's like, well, you're the only one that can breathe underwater, so it's up to you. And Mermista's like, fine. Like, I hate being the only one that can breathe underwater right now. So she goes through the sewer, and just nastiness happens to her. It's just so gross. So she gets delayed a bit. Seahawk. So Adora and Seahawk are like, okay, we're going to have to take out those guards. On the count of 3, we'll ambush them. And then she goes, 1, and then he jumps up and screams, adventure! Like, just announces that he's there. Like, why? Why is he here? Why is he doing that? Like, nobody takes this seriously? Like, our friends are being held captive by the Horde. But again, I guess you don't really feel threatened by the Horde if you're just going to do that. So, it all happens, it works out, and then they get inside, and then the whole time, like, Entrapped is being like, she's being distracted by all the tech in there. She's like, ooh, look at this. Ooh. Like, she's like that kid that you can't control in a toy store. And you're like, come back here. Come here. Come here. Come here. Come here. But you can't control her. So she's not. And it's annoying. And I'm like, no one's taking this seriously. At all. None of them. Really. So it doesn't really feel tense. And then they have this, like, showdown fight between the A-Team and the Princess Squad. And the A-Team's really pathetic because they have Kyle. Kyle is the worst. The absolute worst. I understand, like, I'm not saying that the Horde was always menacing and, that the original was without fault. Because it wasn't. There was a lot that could be fixed in the original. But, for all the, bonehead, junk that Montana failed at, Kyle is so much worse because Kyle is shrimpy. He gets beaten by everything easily. He doesn't know how to fight despite being in the Horde for I don't know how long. So he doesn't really have much Horde training, much combat training, no strength training. And when he has to fight, he just runs at it with his eyes closed and swings whatever he's holding. Why are you in the Horde? I don't understand your place. What do you do? What are you for? Why do they keep you around? And then, I don't understand why they keep him around. Because he's not evil. He doesn't act evil. He doesn't have any, he's not particularly brave or strong, and he has no powers that are useful to the Horde. So why is Kyle still there? And then there's Bo's power of making friends with everyone. So he uses that power on Kyle. Yes, I'm calling it a power. Because that's what he does. He makes friends with everyone. Because he doesn't have a power of his own. And it was so lackluster. You could have had so much and just, And there's no troopers. No troopers. In Horde Central, their main base, there are 3 troopers. 3 of them. The 2 guys outside. And 1 guy that walked by Adora while she was hiding. Or something like that. I don't know. But basically, the place should have been crawling with troopers. Crawling with them. And speaking of the troopers, are they people? Are they robots? Why do they look so shrimpy? They're so small. They're so small. And they get beaten by the most ridiculous stuff. Not that the old troopers didn't get beaten by ridiculousness, but there was an episode, the episode when they got Perfuma. One of the troopers got beaten by one of the hippie girls who was armed with a leaf fan. A leaf fan. did the trained horde trooper in his base get beaten by a hippie with a leaf fan? Come on, y'all. What are you doing? So they rescue the girl, they rescue those two, and they return to Bright Moon, but not before Entrapta, like, they go through this corridor where there's, like, doors that close and burn the previous room, because reasons. Like, it's not like a spaceport or like a space station where, like, there's airlocks that need to be purified. Like, it's just the fright zone. It's just the fright zone. Why is this thing there? And it's not a security measure either. It's just, oh, here's the corridor with the doors that slam shut and they burn everything in between them. So everyone's running through these corridors, and they get through, except Entrapta's newly formed robot that she just, like, repurposed 30 minutes prior. She's like, oh, I just repurposed this. It's amazing. I love her. It's the one that's opening the doors. And on the last door, its USB cord gets stuck. And everyone's like, oh well. And Entrapta's like, no, my baby! And, like, runs in there, and the door closes, and the, like, blue flames shoot out. And they're like, oh, Entrapta just died. And I'm like, why would Entrapta run back for that? I know she's stupid, but, like, really? So Adora frees Glimmer. She and Catra have a whole bunch of stuff that they have to hash out. They end up hashing a bunch of it out. And in the next episode, they come across this, like, they go back to the Crystal Castle. They go through this whole memory thing in the Crystal Castle where it, like, tells their whole backstory of how they were always together. And how Adora, like, it does tell a good story about how Catra feels like Adora's always looked down on her. Like, oh, you can't do anything without me. I'm so great. He. And Adora doesn't see it like that. Adora's like, no, I just was helping you. And Catra's like, I didn't need your help. Like, there are some times when I didn't need your help and I don't want to be your sidekick. I want to be me. But you just always insisted that I defer to you, and I just did because I love you. But I'm not going to say that out loud right now because I feel like being Megara and angry that you left me for the rebellion, but not really. Because when you decided that you were going to defect, you said, Catra, come with me. The Horde's evil, and we don't need to be a part of it. And I was like, well, duh, the Horde's evil. Duh. And then I stayed in the Horde, even though I don't really like the Horde, and I don't like being here, but I want recognition for being apart from you. So I let you leave, and then I got mad at you for leaving. And then I want recognition for being apart from you, and now I vow to destroy you? I think that's what she's going for. Like, I'm going to be better than you'll ever be, and I'm going to prove it by killing you? And then there's the Battle of Bright Moon, where Catra hatches his plot to destroy the runestone of Bright Moon to make the runestone of the Fright Zone stronger. So they attack Bright Moon, And, Bright Moon's like, we have to gather all of our forces and light the beacons. Oh yeah, after Entrapta died, quote unquote died, she didn't really die. The Princess Alliance breaks up. They're like, we told you it's a bad idea. It's terrible to have us all together because we're too vulnerable and no one knows how to work together. Someone always dies. And it's like, look, it wasn't any of your faults. She ran back there on her own. Everybody was in the free and clear. It's not like you all got pinned down or some junk. Like, Entrapta's just stupid. But Entrapta didn't die. She just, scuttled into a vent of some sort, and she's staying with the Horde. And because Catra and Scorpia found her, and they're promising to give her all the access to all the tech she could possibly want, and that's all she really wants in life. She doesn't care about the Etheria versus the Horde type thing. She just wants to tinker with cool machines. And nobody has more cool machines than the Horde. So she promises to make weapons for them as long as she gets to tinker around with First One's tech. So then the Battle of Bright Moon goes down. Catra shows up there at Bright Moon with 7 tanks. Ooh, 7 tanks. And then Adora and company in Bright Moon are like, oh, let's raid the armory and get special armor on. And then Adora transforms into She-Ra, but it's a special gold form where she's super armored up. And I'm like, how did you do that? How did you get gold mode to activate? Because you've never had gold mode before, and you don't know how to use your powers, so how did you activate extra special armor version? What did you do? And the show doesn't explain it. It's just like, oh, she's gold now. Power up. Why? It explains where Bo and Glimmer get their armor because they went to Glimmer's special hidey hole armory. It explains everybody's armor except for She-Ra's. How did she transform into that special armor? Which apparently only armored up her front, because Catra attacks her and scratches the hell out of her back. And it's weird that the power-up just puts her on par with Catra. She goes to fight Catra one-on-one, and Catra's just besting her all left and right, because Catra has all of the agility and all of the skill and knows how to fight, and Adora's just like, angry swing, angry swing, angry swing, grr, She-Ra smash. But it doesn't work, and then everybody gets beaten, seemingly. And then all the previous princesses show back up, including Frosta, who already, from her episode, she never agreed to join the Princess Alliance in the first place. She was mad at Adora. She hated everything. And now suddenly she's just like, oh, I'm here to save you. Because the Horde put bombs in my house once, I guess. I don't know. They don't go into detail. They just show up and do their princess powers things on the Hordesmen. And then She-Ra's like, then they all start to glow their individual princess colors of their respective elements. And then She-Ra does the Care Bear stare, moon healing escalation, all of our powers combined, wave attack at them, and wins. It's weird. It's really weird. Because the other princesses have no reason to show up. And it doesn't explain how they got there so fast. Because Queen Angela was like, light the beacons, once the horde was like right at their front step. And I'm like, what the hell are the beacons? Who the hell can see these beacons? Because where I'm from, beacons are just this big old light that's out in front of the town that you can see from far away. But, like, I couldn't see a beacon from Loda, like, from the next city over from my city. You'd have to be, like, almost going there to see it. Or passing by it or some junk. But, like, Perfuma in Plumeria, Mermista in Salinas, and Frosta in the Kingdom of Snows all see the beacons and all arrive at the same time. How far apart are these places? Are they like just neighborhoods? I don't know. So, like, this series does some interesting things, but there's so much that it leaves just... It misses so many opportunities and so many chances to explain itself and to do a much better story and to treat the characters with much more respect and wherewithal. Like, right now, the Horde isn't threatening, like, in the least. In the least. The only threatening one there is Catra. Which was almost true about the original, too. Catra and Shadow Weaver were, like, the best ones. But, like, I don't know. So, on its own, I'd sort of rate this one about a C. Maybe a C-. I know a lot of people online and a lot of its fans are like, this is the best. A+, A+++. Because there's gay characters and there's body positive characters. And though those are good points, but that's not the story at all. That's not what's important in this story. It may be an important aspect for you, but it's not what's important to this story. So, there you go. There's my extra long review that I didn't want to do, but I ended up doing it anyway. Sorry about that. Sorry for the hour-long rant. Next time I'll try to keep it under 10 minutes. And I'm going to compare the original series to this series. And the comic series. Why not? Alright, talk to y'all later. Ciao.